Hello and welcome everybody to a full beginner's guide of Manor Lords. This little rundown is going to allow you guys to get right into the game and start building your massive settlements, your massive cities, and start having fun in the game of Manor Lords. To start off, we are going to go into new game, and this is where you are going to create your basic character. Fill in your name at the top, click a portrait, and build your banner. There are many customizations. As soon as you are done with that, we are going to go to the continue, and this is where you get to have a little bit of fun. You'll get to completely customize what you would like in the game. That will make it much more fun for you, the player. End goals, AI opponents, number of AI opponents, the aggressiveness of AI opponents, initial starts, you can go on and on. They really do a very good job of allowing you to kind of customize how you want to play. And then at the top here, we have the different types of play styles that you want to go to, whether it's Rise to Prosperity or all the way to the Fractured Realm. Everyone that you have your cursor over will give you the premise and the victory conditions of each game style that you want to play, so read them carefully and pick the one that works best for you. And lastly, before we actually get started with the game, we can go over to our map selection and look at the various types of maps that you can play. Each one has a little bit of a description right there in the picture and will allow you to pick a specific gameplay again. On the big map down here, don't forget that depending on where you start, you can pick where you and your opponents start on each part of these territories. You are not stuck to just this region. You can move AIs around and have a very close region to one another so you can get the battles going right away. Or if you want a more spaced out gameplay style, you can also put them at the corners. You can customize it however you deem fit. Now that is going to be the basic selection. Once you have created your portrait, created your character, customized the settings and how you want to play, and you have finally began and started your game, you are always going to start with the basic settlement as it is right here. You'll be presented with homeless people's tents, a series of settlers, and some basic supplies that are sitting here on the ground, along with a hitching post and one ox. Now the beautiful thing about this game is as you progress, they are going to give you little tips getting started, certain types of buildings that are built and what they do, and they do a very good job of actually explaining it to you, the player, as you progress. You can of course at the bottom skip all future tutorials if you wish, but I would recommend that you leave it on if you are just starting, as again, they do provide pretty good and useful information. Now starting off at the top here, because it can get pretty intimidating with everything that is displayed at the top, we will start from the left and work our way right. The first thing that we're going to come across is the unassigned families. What this is going to be the families that are not assigned a specific job, whether it be gathering lumber, gathering coal, stone, or creating various types of items or food. These are going to be the families that are unassigned, and they are going to look for work. If you want to construct something, your unassigned families are going to go and construct it. If you need someone to guide an ox, they are going to guide the ox or gather timber. So this is the workhorse of your faction, and every time you assign a family to a job, this will go down. If you have 0 unassigned families, when it comes time to actually construct or build, you will be unable to do so unless you unassign a family from a job so that you actually have workers to do so. The next to that is going to be your assigned families. If we assign a family a job, for example, chopping down trees and creating lumber, you will see that this will tick down to 4, and then this will tick up to 1 because you have assigned a family a specific job. Next to that is going to be your available living space. All of them are homeless right now and living in these tents, and it isn't until we actually build them houses and they move into those houses that we will see this start to lower. So this is telling us that we have 0 living space and they are basically living on the dirt. Next to that is going to be your approval rating. We want to make sure this is above 50%. If it's in 50%, as you can see, this is a neutral zone. You're not going to lose any approval rating, but you're also not going to gain approval rating. And the higher this is, the higher chance you have of people actually wanting to move to your cities, to your settlements, and living there. As you build new homes, if your approval rating is higher than 50%, let's say around 60 is kind of the goal to get to, and higher, you will start to fill those homes with people moving into your region and moving into those vacant spots. And next to that, you will have your public order. Again, just make sure that you are paying attention to recent factors and lingering memories and trying to keep this as high as you can. Then we will go on to regional wealth. They do a good job of explaining this. It's the amount of wealth owned by the residents of this region. It is the primary currency used in the trading post and can be spent on a backyard extension or converted to treasury via the manor tax panel. So this is the primary currency that you are going to use to build and expand your settlements, whether it be backyard extensions, which we'll get into, and or buying goods and trades. Next to that is livestock, the amount of livestock you have, and then more importantly, the months remaining before supplies run out. So this is what we want to pay attention to and make sure that this is at least a 3-month reserve at all times. So you'll see in this tab, you can see that it says food. You have 3 months of supplies worth of food, and fuel is no consumption. We have 0 fuel right now, so we will have to gather some. And on the right side of it, this is going to be all the goods that you have in construction. Tools, rubble, stone, timber, planks. This will be all the resources that you have and that are stored away, ready to be used. Next to that, we go into food, the amount of food that you have in reserves, and then your fuel, crafting materials. These are all the supplies, all the materials, your resources that you have amongst you. So you can scroll over these and that will tell you exactly what you have in stock. When we get into the center of this tab, that is going to be the name of your settlement. You can click on that and you can change the name of your settlement if you do not like what it's called, simply by clicking on the feather. And then this is what we will eventually get into as our settlements expand. However, in the current state of Manor Lords, only the first tier will be available to you, and we will show you what that looks like once we actually expand our city. In the environment tab, that'll tell you what your environment has, what it is rich in, and what it is poor in, so that you can kind of strategize on how you want to actually build your settlement and what direction you want to go. And then in your records tab, this will tell you all the records of things that have happened. Transactions, money, raids, balances, exports, imports, everything that you need to know regarding your trade and your resources will be in these records. And then lastly, before we get into the building, on the right, you will see the portrait of your character along with your banner. And what you have here is going to be your treasury, the personal wealth usually collected from taxes via the manor. So as your people are taxed, it goes to your treasury. You will use that to purchase mercenaries if needed, to build your retinue if needed. And then directly under that will be your influence, the measure of your political power. As you gain influence, you will be able to claim lands with influence, so you want to make sure you're building that up at a constant rate. So now we are in the main screen. We are ready to start our settlement. What do we do? So the first thing we want to do is we can look at what month of the year it is, and we are in March. And down here, if you scroll over the tab that shows the month of the year, it will tell you exactly what it is. March 15th of year 1. And we are currently in spring, which are the months of March through May. You will experience frequent raining. And as you progress through the year, you can see the strengths of what each month will bring. In the summer, crops grow, possible droughts. Autumn, harvesting, plowing, and sowing crops. And then winter, sheep shearing forbidden, wild berry bushes become dormant. So something you want to do as soon as you start, it's something that I always start with, is if you run out of lumber in the process of starting your game. So currently we have 8 timber. If you use all 8 timber building houses or granaries or storehouses and you have no way to get timber, you have officially locked yourself out and you cannot progress in the game. You have essentially lost. So the first thing that we're going to do is we want to go down to our construction tab. And as soon as you go into the construction tab, this is going to be all the specific buildings that you build for certain resources, whether it be logging camps, woodcutter's lodge, saw pit, foresters, and so on and so forth. You can scroll through each one and that will allow you to see what specific building it is and what it does, what they collect, and what it's used for. But for the purpose of this video, we want to start with a logging camp. When you click on the specific tab, you will see the outline of the building show up. If you left click and hold, you can rotate the building in the specific area that you want it shown on the map. With the logging camp, naturally, we're going to want it relatively close to trees, so we just click. That has officially given your workers an objective to build a logging camp, and as you can see, they will all start to walk towards the area that needs to be built. They will gather the ox, they will gather the supplies, and they will start to build up this logging camp until it is completed. Now, while they're building that, if you want it done in a specific amount of time and you want to rush through this, we don't have to watch it in real time, which would take a while for them to go back and forth. If you go down to the bottom right here, you can fast forward the game by ×4 and or ×12. If we click the ×12, as you can see, the game is now sped up and the workers are moving at an incredibly fast pace. This will allow you to get this done immediately, so you're not waiting around and you can just continue going with your game. Once your logging camp is built, nothing will happen right now until a family is assigned to it. No one will go out and chop down trees and gather the timber that is falling. Not until you assign the family, which is what we were talking about earlier. We have 5 unassigned families, and now we need to assign a family. In order to assign a family, you need to click on the logging camp, and down here in the middle, where you see these 3 vacant spots, that will show you how many families can be assigned to this logging camp. So to assign one family, we will click the assign family, and you will see one of the vacant spots be filled up and light up. That shows us that there is one family working in this logging camp, and that family will immediately start to go and gather the timber. So as you can see, if you click on the people, it'll show you the families that are assigned to this and that they are working. And here is one right now, chopping down the lumber. Now that we have the basic lumber situation under control, we want to start building a general layout for our roads. Now you can get very in detail with how your road system is and how you lay it out for your personal city, but for this tutorial we are just going to make a very general basic layout so we can go into the next portion. In order to get to roads, you just have to click the road sign down here, and you can click, drag, and once you place a spot, you can continue to snake it through or just place the initial road and design it however you desire. So as stated earlier, now that we have our logging camp up, we want to make a spot that's going to house our basic supplies. That is going to be our food and basic supplies that we use to build. And for that, we want to go into our construction tab at the bottom, and we want to switch over to our logistics tab right next to the gathering tab. Once in the logistics, we can have an option to build the granary as well as the storehouse. The granary is going to be for your food. We click that and set it down. That'll begin the construction on that. Our 4 unassigned families will now start to build the granary. And likewise, next to the granary, we will want to build the storehouse connected to a road. It does not have to be connected to a road, but it just makes it easier. Now that both of these are selected and placed, our 4 unassigned families will get to work building both of these. Once constructed, we have to assign a family to each of these. The family that is assigned to the granary will pick up the food in our supply stash. In this case, it'll be the wheat bread, and they will transport it to the granary. It will now be protected and not spoiled if it is rained on. And likewise in the storehouse, when a family is selected there, they will bring the remaining firewood, rubble stone, and tools and store that in the storehouse. And here we go, both are completed. We are going to assign a family to each of these, and if we fast forward, we will see that all the supplies are being picked up by the families that are assigned to it. And now moving on. Now that the basic needs are met for housing our supplies, we want to start moving on and building our burgage plots, which are going to house our families that are now stuck in these tents. Building burgage plots is very straightforward. We are going to go down to our construction tab, and then we are going to click on the residential area. We will have the option for burgage plots and the well, which we will get into momentarily. When building the burgage plot, it is very simple. Again, Manor Lords does a great job of providing you with these how-to little tutorials before you go in and start building it. Essentially, what you want to do is click on your burgage plot, find a spot that you want to actually start the burgage, click and drag out this line, and once you have the desired effect that you want or the desired length of these burgage plots, you will click again, drag it out to your desired width, one more click, and you will have 4 points that you need to meet in order to actually build these burgage plots. Now, once you finally click those burgage plots, you will see that you have the general outline of how the burgage plots are going to look. You can rotate how you want these burgage plots to lay by clicking this rotational tab right here, and when you are finally set to want to actually build the burgage plots in the set location that you have them, you will click the mallet, and that will finalize the build. Now that our burgage plots are built, our families will start moving out of the tent and start moving into these vacant burgage plots, which brings us into our next little bit that you need to know about burgage plots. When building one, if you build it too small and you have the option, you can see here that I can build one house plus an addition, but there is no area to add an extension. And when I say extension, this is exactly what I mean. If you take notice to how this picture looks versus how this will look, you can now see that I have the option to build an extension in the backyard of this burgage plot. And that's really what you want to focus on. You want to make sure that when you're building your burgage plots that you have the ability to build a backyard extension. That is going to allow you to build such things as chicken pens, pig or goat pens, certain specialties such as bakers, armorers, blacksmiths, and so on. So it is vital that you make sure that when you are building burgage plots, you have at least the ability to add an extension. You do not want to build a burgage plot that doesn't have this, as it's more or less just a waste of space. And likewise, if you're going to build a burgage plot that has the option for a farm, you want to make sure that you extend it out, and we can use this plus or minus sign here to either add the number of burgage plots we want to do or reduce the amount of burgage plots that we want to use. In this case, if I wanted to build a little farm here, I would have my burgage plot plus an extension and then the area in which I could build a vegetable and or fruit farm. For the purposes of this tutorial, I will construct this so we can get into that next step. Basic amenities for food. As you start off in Manor Lords, they are always going to provide you with some source of base food. In this case, we have a high yield of wild animals that we can hunt, deer being the primary animal, and in other valleys or areas you might have options for berries, and in some cases fish and or eel, which you can start to farm. To begin gathering food, as our bread is starting to run out and we have 1 month left of food, we can go down to our construction tab, shoot over to the gathering, and look for our hunter's camp. Once we find the hunting camp, we can click on it, build it near a road, and then once we start having our hunter's camp, we can assign unassigned families to this, which will then go into the assigned area nearby and start hunting the deer that are in here. You do not want to build roads inside of this area and or buildings inside of this area, otherwise the deer will get startled and they will start to migrate away from this designated area. Now, one of the things your residents are going to need to survive and thrive is your basic necessities such as water. Now, how do we find water or where to place the specific well? We're going to go over here to the overlay tab on the right hand side, and you can see the multitude of things that we can click on that are going to find your basic needs. In this case, we want to know where the underground water is in our valley so that we can actually place a well. If we click on underground water, we can see exactly where the water is flowing in our little town right now. And in that case, we can build the well exactly where we need it to ensure that our residents have easy access to the water and won't be complaining about that, which would lower your overall public order and approval. Likewise, using the overlay, if we want to know if we have good soil to plant crops and farm in our region, we can click on emmer, flax, barley, and rye, and we can see which crop would thrive in our region and which crops wouldn't. In this case, we don't really have much of a farming ground under here. As you can see, a lot of it is in the red and or negatives, which means we would not get a good yield. Essentially what you're looking for when you were planting crops is either the light and or preferably dark green areas with the 3+ signs in them. That means this is going to produce and give you a high yield of crops versus the yellow and orange, which would give you next to nothing. Now, even though this region is poor for crops, that does not mean that every region is. If we just go next door to the next region, as you can see, the soil here is very good. That would tell you that this is more than likely going to be a farming region if you were to take it over or start here, and that is where your business and or cities would thrive in. Now, it goes without saying that if your city is going to grow and thrive, you will not be able to survive strictly off wild animals, as this will run out very quickly and your residents will be left starving, which will lower your overall approval. In that case, knowing that we are in a region that does not thrive in the soil and would not yield a good amount of crops if we were to do farmland, we have to rely on our burgage plots. So we go to the large burgage plot that we initially constructed that allowed us to have a huge extension where we stated we could build a farm or some sort of vegetable garden or orchard. We can click on that, and once you click on that burgage plot and you want to add an extension, you will come over to this tab right over here, click it, and as you can see, we have the options here: chicken coop, vegetable garden, animal pen, orchard, and or an apiary. In this case, we are going to want to build a vegetable garden. In order to build a vegetable garden, you are going to need planks, in which case I just went down to the construction tab, went into the gathering, and then here we have our saw pit where we can click that and that will turn our lumber into planks. I have a family assigned to it, and they will always go to the storehouse to collect the logs, bring it back, and they will build as many planks as they can as long as the timber is available. Now, once the residents have finished constructing the vegetable garden, you have the option for 3 different vegetables. In this case, we could purchase carrots, cabbages, and or beetroots. But depending on the size of the burgage plot that you constructed, it's going to cost either less or more, depending again on the size. In this case, it is a large burgage plot and we do not have the funds necessary to be able to purchase the seeds for carrots and or cabbages, but we do have the funds necessary to purchase beetroots. So in this case, for the purposes of this tutorial, we will purchase beetroots, and now the assigned families for this burgage plot will start to plant the beetroots and work on them. It should be noted that if you are going to build burgage plots with farms on them, vegetable gardens or orchards, you should always have a burgage plot that has the ability to have an expansion added to it. By building this expansion, this is going to allow 2 families to live on this burgage plot, and as you upgrade it, more families will be able to live on this one burgage plot. By having 2 families, you will now have 2 families that will tend to the vegetable garden and make it much more efficient in gathering and planting versus having just 1 family. If you're going to have burgage plots that have just general animal pens or chicken coops, you should keep it to just 1 family, and you don't really have to worry about the extension. Essentially what I'm saying is if you're going to have a burgage plot that has a purpose, vegetable gardens, orchards, animal pens, or a specialty, smithing, blacksmithing, those are the burgage plots that you want to focus on having 2 or more families in. And if it's just a general burgage plot where you're going to have 1 family in there and they're going to be your general workers, you don't have to worry about having 2. It takes up twice the resources, and it's just going to be more of a pain down the road. Now that we have our basic needs for the vegetable garden started, we need to start focusing on trying to generate more regional wealth. And how do we do that? In this region, it just so happens that we are lucky to have a high deposit of salt. We have 1178, and any resource that you see that has this crown on it means you have a higher yield, and for this case with the salt, we can actually dig underground and we will have an infinite number of salt that we can deposit. Versus a resource such as the stone here, where it does not have the gold crown above it, once you mine the 119 stone that are here, it is gone. So to start with the stone, we want to make sure that we drag a road out nearby, and we can go down to the construction, and we want to start looking for the mining. Once we find the mining pit in our gathering tab, we have to make sure that we are in the vicinity of the salt before we can place it. If we come outside, as you can see, there will be no deposit in range and it will not allow you to build. It's in this white circle. Once you find it, you can click that, and now your workers will start to build the mining pit. Now, while we await the mining pit to be constructed, we're going to go into our next area of the tutorial, which is going to be our marketplace. Everything that your population gathers, whether it be food and or resources, goes again to our granary and or storehouse. Now, the workers of the granary and storehouse would like to sell those items to your residents so they can bring it back to their burgage plots and thrive. But in order to do that, they're going to need a marketplace. So we go to the residential tab and come to the marketplace, find a general open area. For the purposes of this tutorial, we will just make it right inside of here. And as you make the area, you can see the plus signs that are either expanding or decreasing. That'll be the number of market stalls that are available inside this square. Once you're done and satisfied with the amount of stalls that'll be in the area, click the mallet and that will construct your marketplace. Now with that in place, the workers that are in the granary and the storehouse will start to come and populate the marketplace, bring in the resources that are available, and setting up shop, which will now allow your residents to go to the marketplace, purchase supplies, and bring them back. And as you can quickly see, the workers from the granary came up and they've already set up a food stall, which is 040, but now they will start to bring any available food from the granary, bring it to the stall, and then that will allow your workers to come and purchase said food. So our mining pit has been constructed finally, and we can start to assign workers to the mining pit, and this is going to be our main source of trade right here. Once you assign families to the mining pit, they will automatically start to mine the salt, which will then be carried and stored in the storehouse. And this brings us to the next portion of this tutorial, which is generating regional wealth. After purchasing our vegetable garden, we have a regional wealth of 2, and we need to build that up so we can continue to build more upgrades in any of these burgage plots as we go on. But how do we do that moving forward? What you'll notice when you start each game in Manor Lords is there is a large road, and it stands out compared to the other roads that you build. If I build one directly next to this, you can see that this road is much larger than the general roads that we construct, and this is known as the King's Road. This is going to be your primary road for trading, where merchants will constantly walk through and visit any towns that have trading posts. When you start getting into the realms of trading, we want to go to our construction tab, go into our logistics tab, and here we can find our trading post. Now, by building a trading post, again, we do not want to build this on the main roads inside our city. We want to ensure that we are building this on the King's Road, as this is going to be the best way to trade. Once you've constructed your trading post, it's very simple to start getting into trading and earning money. Now, it should be noted that there are 2 types of trading in Manor Lords. When you click on the trade tab inside, you are going to have your minor trades and your major trades. Minor trades are going to be supplies that you can trade right away, and you do not have to purchase an established trade route to start trading. Whereas major trades are going to require that you establish a trade route in order to start trading those goods. Typically, these are going to be reserved for the more higher value trade goods. So in our instance, we have a salt mine up and it's being mined. If we go to the crafting materials and scroll down to find salt, we run into a problem and find that it is in fact under the major trades tab, which yields a problem because we do not have the regional wealth to establish a trade route, and therefore we cannot trade that salt yet. Which is no problem, because the next best thing we have around our area is a plethora of trees. And with those trees, we can chop them down and turn them into planks. And if we go to our construction tab, we can find that planks are in our minor trades. Now, seeing that we are surrounded by a fair amount of trees and building planks is not going to be a problem for us, that is where we can start with our minor trade. If we go down and click on trade, we can either import, export, and or have full trade. In this case, we are going to want to export planks, and in the center here, we can determine how many planks that we want to export at a desired time. In this case, we have 19 planks currently in our storehouse. I will reduce that to 10, and that now tells me that when I assign a family here to the trade route, they will grab as many planks as they can, and they will walk along the King's Road to the nearest trading venue, which we will find on the outside here. They will walk to the nearest trade point and trade those planks, which will then generate regional wealth, and it'll go in our regional wealth tab here. Once we've gathered enough regional wealth through the trading system, we can then come back to trade, go into our crafting materials, and we can start scrolling down to where we find our salt. And once we have a regional wealth of 50, we can establish a major trade route and start generating massive wealth through trading our salts. The next portion of the tutorial we're going to go on is starting to generate treasury and influence. And in order to do that, you need to build a manor. So we go into our construction tab and come back down to the administration and military and click on that tab. We can see we have the option to build a manor. Now, generally, you're going to want to build this manor in a more strategic position that allows you to defend it easily against rebels and or enemy units that come into your territory. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we are going to build it in a general area, and we will call this our manor. Now, once you click the manor, you can see that the castle planner will pop up and it'll explain everything to you. The options you have when you build the general manor is you can add additions to the manor, which will add to the cost of actually constructing it. Now, once you place your manor, you're going to have the option to add additions to this, which will be walls and gates, outer tower, which will allow you to garrison units and shoot from the towers, your garrison tower, which will increase your retinue size, which is the total amount of retinue that you can have, and your tax office, which is only cosmetic only, but it adds for a nice little touch if you want to add to it. Once we've placed our manor and we are committed to it, we can hit the commit tab, and if we add additions, we can hit the commit tab, and that will build the addition to the manor as you have constructed it. While we await our manor to be constructed, we can go on to the next portion of the tutorial, which is advancing in development. If we hover over our settlement name at the top here, you can see the current settlement level, which is a settler's camp, and what you need for the next settlement level. In this case, we're trying to get up to the small village, and it tells us that we need burgage plots, level 1 or higher, and we currently have 4 of 5. We are building our 5th burgage plot here, and as soon as this is constructed, you will have met the requirements to become a small village, and that will unlock the next tab that we can go into. And here you have it. As we have finished the last burgage plot, it will tell you that we have reached the next settlement level, which is small village. If we click on the tab at the top, we now have the option to unlock a perk. If we click on our origins, this will allow you to focus on a specialty that your settlement will specialize on. Now, when you're picking this, you want to make sure you're picking something that is beneficial to the area in which you have. So, for example, in the Bamberg smallholders, if we were to use this, it gives us a new upgrade, which is small holding. It increases approval for the food variety and increases success chance for tree planting, but the tithe approval malice, that is the negative. And each specialty that you click on has positives and negatives associated with it. Now, once you found a specialty that you're happy with and you want to unlock, you will simply hover over it, click that specialty, and then click the unlock button, confirming your selection, and now that is permanently unlocked. Now again, as stated earlier, the other development plots are currently locked, but they will be coming soon. Now we have successfully completed and constructed our manor. This is where we are now going to be able to tax our region and start generating overall treasury wealth and influence. If we click on the manor and we go to the taxes tab, we can see where we have the option to do land tax and tithes. With your land tax, this is going to be collected from your regional wealth. So they are going to take a certain percentage of your regional wealth and throw that in towards your treasury. And with a tithe, the way that works is they're going to take a percentage of surplus food that is given to the church in return for influence. So once you have finally constructed a church in your area, they are going to take a percentage of the food that you have in your surplus, and that will generate to the influence, which we do need to actually move on and press claim to other regions. So in this case, for taxes, I'm going to increase it to 10%, but you can see that if you increase it, you are going to have a negative effect on your overall approval. So ensure that your approval rating is high and that your citizens are happy before you start to tax them. If you want to lower it, you can simply type in the amount that you want, lowering the overall approval. Now, after you've built your manor, the only thing left to do is to start expanding your settlement, building more burgage plots, expanding into the trade, collecting resources, and starting to build up an army, build up a treasury, and build up your influence so you can finally start to press claim and expand your nation into neighboring regions. And when you are ready to do so and you want to raise an army, we will simply click on our army tab down here. And as you can see, when we click on that, we currently have a retinue of 5, which is the retinue that we have from the manor that we have already built. You can expand upon that retinue by clicking on the retinue and going to retinue customization. And once you are in this tab, if you have the treasury available, you can add to your retinue by recruiting men-at-arms, which as you can see costs a total of 50 treasury. You can have a total of 12 in the retinue, and you can also upgrade their armor with treasury costs. As it pertains to your army, if you want to add to the army and you have the ability to do so, you have the blacksmiths that are pumping out armors and or weapons, or you are trading armors or weapons and you are ready to start an army, that will utilize your citizens that are in the region. And to gather those, we will press the plus tab, and as you can see, depending on the type of weapons and armors that you have, you can build your militia. Now, if you're unable to form an army of your own citizens, that's okay. Don't worry about that, whether it's because you simply just don't have the weapons and or armors to do so. We always have the option to use our treasury and hire mercenaries. If we click on the mercenary tab, as you can see, we will have 3 selections of mercenaries varying at certain prices. The higher they cost, the better they are, and you can read exactly what you're going to get and the stats of each mercenary. Now, all that'll come into play when you are either attacked by brigands and or enemy units, or you desire to press claim. When it is time to do so and you have generated enough influence and treasury and you have an army that you believe is capable of conquering regional lands that are neighboring you, we would zoom out to our regional view, and if we wanted, for example, to take Linek, we could simply click on Linek, and as you can see, it gives us an option to either claim with influence and or claim with king's favor. In this case, if we wanted to claim with the influence, it would cost 2,000 influence. Once you click that, they would designate a battleground in which you would have to go and fight the enemy units, and upon being victorious in that, you would then gain control. And that is going to do it for our basic tutorial in Manor Lords. If you follow these tips and the general guidelines that I have set before you, you will be successful in Manor Lords. The only thing that's left to do from here is to build your city, expand upon it, utilize the resources that are given to you, utilize the land that is given to you, and prosper. And when you are finally ready to do so, go and conquer your neighboring lands. If you guys have enjoyed this video and it has been helpful, please comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought. Likewise, smash the likes up button so we can make sure this gets out to many of the new Manor Lords players so they can do well as well. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. In the meantime, I hope this has been very helpful, and I hope you guys get out there and crush it in Manor Lords. Until our next video, though, I hope you all have an incredible day. Take it easy, okay?